What happens when the original creator of MySQL walks away from Oracle and builds something new, something faster, something more flexible and dramatically cheaper? Well, that's the story behind MariaDB, and today I'm joined by someone that's helping shape its next chapter. He's the Chief Product Officer at MariaDB, and today he's going to join me in discussing how the company is gaining serious momentum, especially thanks to performance-focused features like vector search, which is a modular architecture that handles everything from analytics to AI. And my guest has a clear ambition to take on both MySQL and Oracle while offering 80% lower total cost of ownership. So I want to unpack how MariaDB is navigating the open source versus enterprise balancing act that we're seeing out there. The rise of agentic AI, yeah, we had to mention that, it's 2025 after all, and why developers are coming full circle back to SQL. And yes, we can even touch on what RAG in a box actually means. But enough from me. It's time for me to officially introduce you to today's guest. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Vikas Mathur. I'm the Chief Product Officer of MariaDB. I'm based out of the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area. I lead product management and engineering at MariaDB, but over my career, I've done both engineering, but also strategy consulting and business development and go-to-market, which essentially allows me to do just more than, product and engineering. It allows me to look at overall strategy and try to figure out how do we navigate the path for the company overall. Last 10 years, I've spent a fair amount of time in enterprise software, primarily trying to figure out how to find growth opportunities by leveraging cloud shift or by leveraging AI and now more recently Gen AI. And really excited to be doing that for MariaDB as of now.
And it does feel like quite an exciting space at the moment because MariaDB has seen renewed momentum lately. I'm reading more and more about it online. So I've got to ask, what's driving the latest surge in interest, and how are recent innovations like vector search, which I've been reading about as well, are they playing a role in this? What's causing this momentum?
So they are, yes. So let me first go back in time a little bit, right? So MariaDB has been around for a while. So Michael Witness, we call him Monty. I mean, he started MySQL, late 90s. And then when it got bought by Oracle, he basically said, oh, no, I can't be here. He basically left Oracle, started MariaDB as the sort of the future of MySQL, so to speak. This was 2009, 2010 timeframe. And the product has evolved significantly and found its own niche since then. The company has gone through, it used to be kind of a private company. It went public, and then it got taken private August last year. And since then, essentially, with a very solid financial footing coming from K1, which is the growth-oriented private equity firm that owns us now, we basically figured out, okay, we have a very strong franchise, and we need to now figure out how do we keep doing what we do best, which is innovate, chip away on the product, on the core value of the product, whether that's ease of use, performance, stability, and also make sure that we are targeting new workloads with what we have in our product. And that's where I think Vector is a great innovation that we brought it out in January this year when it went GA as part of MariaDB. And we are seeing a lot of interest around Vector, especially in the community side. And, as community sort of picks it up, it ultimately rolls into the enterprise side as well for us. So, I mean, I would say it's not, there's no one thing that drives it. It's just the package is not coming together with a broad focused strategy for how do we get ourselves out into the market.
And I think there is a big feeling out there that many organizations are looking to move away from MySQL and reduce reliance on Oracle, etc. But what is it that makes MariaDB such a compelling alternative out there?
So first, the good news is, I think Oracle has literally turned their attention towards HeatWave, right, which is their cloud offering, and that basically puts significantly lower attention on MySQL. MySQL is also a rounding error for them at the end of the day. For us, it is bread and butter. For them, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think MariaDB is the innovation leader that has been actually been pushing MySQL to keep up. I think when people look at us, they're seeing two or three things, right? They're seeing one, obviously innovations, purely vector being one example, but then across the board. So we, for example, have the best proxy out there. This is max scale. It's a proxy, but it also does a lot more. It's really a HADR solution that customers really love from our point of view, and especially enterprise customers, right? Because they really care about the HADR part. We recently bought Galera, which is a synchronous replication. I'm getting a bit technical here, but basically think of it as advanced HADR solution out there, which essentially gives us a lot more sort of oomph when it comes to mission critical workloads running. We have had a Kubernetes operator out for a while. Now we've brought the enterprise version of that out as well recently. And last but not the least, right? If you look at Oracle, whether it's MySQL or regular Oracle database, people pay a lot of money to Oracle for what they do.
Yeah.
For what they can get from us is literally similar features, and we have Oracle compatibility features, which makes the migration easier at 80% reduction of TCO. So if you're paying $100, you can literally do that for $20 here. So it's an open source answer to getting the high-end feature that you get with Oracle, but at a fraction of the cost.
And from the outside looking in, it also seems that you've positioned MariaDB as one database for infinite possibilities. So how does the architecture support that level of flexibility across so many different workloads?
Yeah, I love the marketing, guys. So architecturally, we have a pluggable storage engine architecture, right? So essentially, a lot of our customers end up using InnoDB, which is a storage engine. It's a general purpose storage engine, supports more balanced workloads, balance in the sense of reads and write balance. We also have MyRocks that is more focused towards write heavy workload. We have Column Store, which allows you to run analytical queries, kind of, long running complex queries to create a report, for example, but requires more different architecture per se underneath the hood. So Column Store comes in handy there. We also have text search type engine, Marunga being one. But so the architecture is by itself very pluggable, very flexible in terms of storage engine. But what we have done lately is we've also taken, given that a lot of our customers end up using InnoDB as their sort of the core engine and then other engines for specific workloads. The vector piece that we built that inside InnoDB itself. So you don't have to plug in a separate storage engine for that. You get the vector data type and the vector algorithms embedded in InnoDB. Same thing on the JSON side. So if you have semi-structured data, we have a JSON storage type built in. We also have 40 plus functions to manipulate that semi-structured data, right? So you don't really need to go spin up a Mongo for handling semi-structured data because we can do that. You don't need to go spin up a specific vector database because, again, MariaDB can do that under the covers. And same thing on the analytical side with Column Store.
And of course, there is a lot of hype and indeed demand for all things AI right now. But before you joined me on the podcast today, I was also reading about MariaDB's approach to vector and how the search enables it to support some of those modern AI applications we hear about. So can you tell me more about that? And also what you think from your vantage point, what makes it stand out from other solutions?
Yeah, so our approach to vector has been two-folded, right? So I think one of the reasons why MariaDB got adopted early on in a broad way was the ease of use. And we want to make sure that we keep that ethos sort of central to whatever we do. The second, obviously, is performance, right? Everybody wants a performant database. They want responses quickly at scale, no matter what, right? So our vector implementation is actually highly performant. We compare it to PG Vector, both on load times, index creation times, as well as search times. It's, whatever, 2 to 3x more performant than that. We are leveraging whatever we can leverage from the hardware side. So if you're running on x86, Intel or AMD type processors, we will leverage the SIMD instructions there to accelerate vector performance. If you're running on IBM, Power architecture, we are also using their vector math sort of built-in hardware to again accelerate, right? So performance will come out central. Now we have also done effort to get integrated into the major Gen AI frameworks. So whether it's Llama Index, LangChain, Spring AI, we have native connectors to all of those at this point, right? So if you're creating an app using any one of those or a RAG system, and I think your users, if they're not aware of what RAG is, basically it's a way to provide context to an LLM so that it can respond to a query by using information that could be specific to your organization or that is more new or whichever, right? So a lot of the Gen AI applications use the RAG architecture today, and they end up using a framework of some sort, and we are now embedded in all of those frameworks. We also launched our MCP server recently. Again, the idea being we want to give LLMs more visibility into the database. So the LLM can now actually ask the database, hey, show me the tables, show me the schema, and things of that sort, and then decide what to do with it and run a query, because LLMs now can code SQL by themselves as well. Where we are going with this thing is we want to take out a lot of the work that people are doing at the application layer. And, for those who are sophisticated enough to use Llama Index or LangChain, that's great. They can use MariaDB today. But for our traditional audience of the DBAs who may not go into the LangChain side, we want to make it super easy, where all you need to do is insert data, and we want to take that work of creating embeddings and storing and searching and all of that, and we want to do it underneath the covers, right? So think of it as RAG in a box, and that's what we're working on, and hopefully we'll get it out soon on that side. But the goal being, again, ease of use and performance. And we believe that is typically the recipe for getting wider adoption on things.
And on a personal level, when I was doing a little research on you, I was also reading you've got this background in both strategy and engineering. So a question I've got to ask you is, how do you balance open source innovation with enterprise grade reliability? It's got to be somewhat of a challenge and a delicate balance, I would imagine.
It's an interesting one. So I've all my life I've done enterprise, okay? Yeah. And last 10, 12 years was enterprise software purely. I've consumed open source on the other side. So as we have developed products, we have used open source, as part of it. This is the first time when I'm actually on the other side and actually part of a provider of open source software. And it's a very interesting place. There's a lot of learning that comes with it, frankly. I think there's a natural benefit, one, of being open source. I mean, all of our engineering team, which, by the way, is very experienced engineering team, they all come with the open source mindset, sort of, it's ingrained into them. And we actually rely on community for a lot of our contributions around features. But I think the bigger piece that community gives us is that early sort of feedback on features. So, when I used to be in enterprise software and we would bring out something new, we would run a full-fledged beta program. We'll try to get people to try it out. It was always a tough road to get customers. I mean, you'd get 5, 10 customers trying it out, sure, giving you feedback. Here, you can literally put it out there into the community and you get hundreds of them giving you feedback on their own with a variety of applications. It's just great from a product development point of view. Now, what they get in return is, pretty much the core feature set is out there for free, right, for them to use. Now, that said, the needs for enterprises are different, right? When I'm trying to run a production or a mission critical workload, yeah, free is interesting, but I really want support. If something goes down, I need somebody on the other side to actually come and help me, like in 5 minutes or less, or 15 minutes, whatever, right? Is the thing. I want security plugins. I want high-end security because I really care about it. I want HADR. I want things to never go down. I don't want my phone to ring in the middle of the night. If something fails, system should just switch to something else and, should just keep working. All of those features come as part of enterprise. And so as we develop, right, we have the balance going on. You need the core to improve by definition. The performance, for example, is usually in the core. But when it comes to security, when it comes to HADR, a lot of those features end up going into the enterprise version, so to speak. And so that's really the balance that we are going towards, right? But I think it's very synergistic, this whole open source model. It's a very interesting space.
It really is. And I'm curious, from everything that you're seeing and hearing and all the conversations that you're having, what are the trends that you're seeing in customer expectations when it comes to database platforms, particularly with the context of AI and semi-structured data and real-time analytics, all that things that people are getting excited about at the moment? Are there any particular trends that you're noticing right now?
Let's start with AI. Yeah, there are trends all across.
Yeah.
I'll go a little controversial here, maybe. I mean, traditional AI, with all the Gen AI coming in, I think traditional AI is kind of dead to some extent. And a lot of work that actually a lot of database vendors had put in to embed kind of traditional machine learning features. I mean, they're good. I'm sure there'll be applications using them, but with the pace that LLMs are progressing, I think a lot of that will become redundant and not really needed. So from my point of view, Gen AI is here to stay, right? It's already transforming how applications are being built. We may be in early stages of that. You might have tried Replit, you might have tried Lovable and all of those. But as a database vendor, we have to be front and center to make sure that we are relevant in this new paradigm of things, right? And that's where sort of we are pushing ourselves to go, right? So whether it's vector being the simplest way of getting in, but I think for me, developing Gen AI agents, developing an agent that does text to SQL with context from MariaDB itself, providing us kind of, as we didn't talk much about DBaaS and all of that, but ultimately providing some kind of DBaaS service with serverless on it. All of that is very essential to staying front and center as part of the Gen AI. And any database vendor will have to do those things. On the semi-structured side, because you mentioned that, I think that one is interesting. Now, I think it has had its time. It's definitely something that a lot of app developers prefer when they're starting up because it just makes things easy. It's schema sits in the application. The database is not as hard and structured anymore. But it becomes a pain as you scale. At some point, it's inefficient, and at some point, it is also painful to maintain all of that schema in the application layer. And so we do see customers who, as they have grown, basically are saying, okay, yes, this is interesting, but when I want to put this into true production, I want to make sure that I have the structure that comes with a relational database with it. Now, obviously, you need the transition that needs to happen to it, but I think I'm seeing more and more of that happen, and I would expect more of that to happen as we go, where people start off with a NoSQL type approach, but then go SQL later on. Real-time analytics, I think you mentioned that too. Yeah. I think that's a niche at the end of the day. There's definitely places where you need that kind of, less than 10 milliseconds responses that typically the in-memory stream processing type engines provide, maybe fraud detection, maybe telco payments, etc. But broadly, the relational databases like MariaDB, for example, if you do a point query, you will get your responses in milliseconds already, right? You don't need to go heavy duty on that. So there's a lot of space that gets covered by databases like MariaDB. But there is still a niche there for people who want consistently that, very, very low single-digit millisecond type responses on a large number of transactions. So yes, I think it's here to stay, but it depends upon how big it gets. But I think it won't get super big, but definitely there is a space for it.
Well, I love chatting with you today. It's time to have a little fun with you now. I'm going to ask you to look inside my virtual crystal ball. If we look ahead, how do you see MariaDB planning to further evolve your platform and stay ahead of emerging data and AI-driven use cases? If you look into that crystal ball, what's the future look like?
Well, I have the benefit of trying to do that every day of the week here, fortunately. I'll tell you where we are pushing, right? I mean, I'm no future teller at the end of the day, but where we are spending our time and energy. One, we're pushing heavily towards cloud, right? We recently launched our first managed service offering, so that if you don't want to manage the databases yourself, we will do it. We are working feverishly on DBaaS, which will be like a full, auto scale, bring your own account type offering. I think that's a need that we are hearing from our customers constantly. So we have to fill that, and we are sort of on our track to doing it. On the AI side, we already talked a lot, and the agentic AI push. How do we get in to that new app development environment and be central there? I think that's a big push for us to stay ahead. Last piece. Well, not the last, but the third biggest piece, I would say, is performance. I want to become the performance leader, or I want MariaDB to become the performance leader in the space. We are highly performant, but we want to grow it to more use cases, not just vector, not just basic transactional. We want to become performance leader across the board. So a lot of effort internally going into that as well to get more in performance. And lastly, I would just say, a fair amount. We excel today in terms of our high availability and disaster recovery solutions, and especially with Galera coming in, we will continue our focus there. And because I think a lot of enterprises value that, and we want to make sure that we not only give them a modern system, highly performant system, but also something that really never goes down and allows them to achieve that, 4, 5, 6 nines that they want to achieve. So
love that.
Those would be the big sort of threads for us as we move forward.
Brilliant. And finally, before I let you go, if you could have a breakfast or lunch with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let me see. I mean, I'm looking at my bookshelf here, and I'm looking at the biography of Steve Jobs, and I started my career at Apple. And I've always been in awe how Steve turned things around and took something that became a niche ultimately. I mean, at that time, when I joined Apple, Mac was the underdog, right? And took that and converted it into something that essentially leads the world for the longest time of the most valued company out there, right? So for me, yes, I would love to get some advice from Steve. I know it's not possible, but I can definitely, if there was an LLM out there that could read all Steve's books and give me advice, that would be great. We are looking to make MariaDB the biggest database ecosystem out there. And I think we have a solid opportunity to definitely go after the MySQL base fully. But also become super competitive with Postgres out there and ultimately take the mantle. And that's the charter that we are on. That's the mission that we are on. And
for anyone listening just wants to find out more information on anything we talked about today, dig a little bit deeper on some of the stuff on MariaDB and the topics we covered, where should they go? Where would you like to point them?
First of all, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. Reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions there directly, one-on-one. You should also visit our website. I mean, we have great resources on our website where you can learn about the product, about what we have brought out recently and what we are doing forward. connect to our blogs. We publish a blog literally every week, or even more. So yeah, just come in, become engaged, directly or indirectly, and we would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I'll add links to everything there so people can find you and ask those questions and dig a little bit deeper on everything we talked about today. For me, just loved hearing more about some of those recent innovations, such as vector search, and so many different areas as well that are driving increased interest and indeed usage of MariaDB, and the story behind some of those big changes that you're having there. So thank you for joining me today and sharing your story.
Thank you, Neil. Awesome.
So, MariaDB having a big second act moment, and hearing today about everything from building a drop-in alternative to expensive legacy database to embedding itself into Gen AI developer workflows. I think Vikas made it clear that MariaDB isn't just playing catch-up, it's setting its own course. Whether it's performance leadership, ease of use, or just staying open source at the core, while adding more enterprise-grade muscle, I think MariaDB seems to be determined to give developers and DBAs something that actually works and the way that they want it to work too. But what do you think? Can MariaDB win over a new generation of app builders? Or are developers still too entrenched in other ecosystems? Let me know your thoughts. Love to hear your take on where the database world might be heading next. Remember, you can find me on techtalksnetwork.com. You'll find thousands of interviews and 8 different podcasts that I host there. And you can also leave me an audio message. So check out that. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another guest. But thank you for listening today, and I'll speak with you all soon. Bye for now.